Hey Stacey, how's it going?
Good. Hi, Jose.
You ready for episode two?
Yes.
All right,
Lots to
cool.
talk about.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. How was your weekend? You went
It
to a
was good.
wedding?
Yeah, celebrated a wedding. Very windy. I didn't like the weather just
Yeah, it
because
was.
wind is like, I think, my least favorite type of weather.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's the worst. Um, it's
How about you?
cool. So you ready to get into it? This weekend it wasn't bad. Just hung out, chasing a toddler around. So that's a lot of fun,
No.
actually.
Well, if
Yeah,
you're
it's fun.
gonna share the news, congrats when Jose gets around to it.
Yeah, yeah. We have another one on the way. But I'll wait to reveal the gender
There
in the
you
future episode. But we're
go.
excited. Everything, the baby's healthy, so that's good. We went to the doctor today.
That is awesome. Well, I'm glad it went well. Well, today, episode two, we're kind of just gonna talk about, what we're gonna be planning to do in the next 1 year, what we think the market is headed, and kind of, we're both in Santa Cruz, so where Santa Cruz is headed, uh, what's going on in the Santa Cruz market. I mean, from an agent perspective, but also from seeing buyers in the market, right? What's going on with the Fed, everything. We're just gonna talk about that. So. I'm excited. It's a good
Cool.
topic tonight.
Yeah, Stacey, is the market going to crash? What's going to
Oh,
happen? Is it going to crash 40% like everyone
is
says?
it? Well, I think no. When it comes to a crash, when I hear people mention that, I always ask, well, what's your definition of a crash? If you think it's already dropped, or if you think a crash is a drop in 10%, right, in value, well, it's like we've already seen that happen. But then in your greater markets, you see Santa Cruz, it's actually increased in value. We have a client, or I had a client who was going for a home in Santa Cruz, Newhall specifically, but because of the lot size, they had 14 offers. I mean, is the market going to crash
Wow.
if there's such a high demand and low inventory? Because that's really what it comes down to, supply and demand. Your simple economics is, hey, where's the supply at? Where's the demand? If supply is super low, but the demand is still really high because there's a lack of availability for people to purchase, then obviously you're going to have multiple people still going for the same home. And that's what happened with this one. 50K over asking price. You would hear this in 2021. It's
Wow.
the end of 2023. And so I just don't think that's where we're headed because of the fact that people are still stuck in their homes with rates at 2 to 3%, right? The higher interest rates don't just affect buyers, is what I'm seeing, but they're also affecting sellers, which has to do with the supply. Sellers aren't going to sell their homes because if they have a 3% interest rate and they buy somewhere else and they have a 7 to 8%, does it make sense for them to double their mortgage per month? Probably not. And so that's just what we're seeing. It's affecting both sellers and buyers, but also ultimately it's going to be, I feel like we're headed to a market where it's going to be a renter's market for momentarily until people can kind of get a hold of, hey, how can I afford this home now? That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then, people talk about it like I saw, um, Patrick Bet David, I think last year was talking about how the market was going to crash 40%.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's a really smart guy, but he's not a real estate guy. I think me and you
Yeah.
have talked about that before. And what people don't realize is that, they talk about the real estate market as a whole, like as a whole in the US, but really
Yeah.
it's like really regional and it's like a bunch of silos, like kind of all over the states, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you live in a place like Santa Clarita, especially, well, if you're coming from LA, the homes are still $3,000-$400,000 cheaper than LA,
Oh
and you're
yeah.
moving into a really nice neighborhood with few homeless people, and it's really nice schools. So people are really looking for that. So when people talk about the market crash, I think that like you said, it came down about 10-15% in certain areas like Phoenix, Boise, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
ran up so high that it had to come down.
Yeah.
You know, it had to come down a little bit. But your
Mhm.
overall, the last 3 or 4 years is still up 30, 40, 50% some
Yeah.
areas. So I think we're at this point we're flatlined. And like you said, that people don't want to sell now because now they're buying into a 7, 8% rate. So why would I
Mhm.
sell my 2.5% house and then into a 7% or 7.5% rate?
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
the few homes that are selling now are the guys or the people moving out of California where they'll sell
Mhm.
their $1.1 million home, and then they have 700 grand in equity, and then
Yeah.
move to Boise or Tennessee, and they'll buy a house cash for 700 grand. Then you can afford to move. But now, it's really slowing down. And plus, we're entering the winter market, I guess. So people
Mhm.
don't really want to move right now. So all that goes to effect. So less homes in the market. So it's all that combined. There's a lot less homes for sale. So those few homes that are for sale are, and if you have something decent and decently priced,
Mhm.
it's going to sell, and it's going to sell over asking. I've
Yeah.
seen that example you gave me there. I know there's a couple other examples I've seen where
Mhm.
like they were going to have an open house and they canceled it because someone came in and just made an offer. I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
like 100 over asking it. But
Mhm.
it's like yeah, we'll take it. We won't
Yeah.
even have the open
Yeah.
house. So
And the
that's what people are fighting against.
Yeah. And the buyers who kind of context too, why are people doing this? The buyers who see the value in that long-term real estate asset that they're purchasing or just a home in general, even if it's their primary home, they know that it's going to grow. And so the way I see it is, hey, what if, the market does crash by let's say 10 to 20%? If you're keeping your home, your mortgage is fixed. And a lot of people don't look at the technicalities of your mortgage, right? Of owning a home is your mortgage is fixed. Even if it drops down in value and you're keeping it, let's say for 5 years plus, you're not going to get affected by it. It's not like your mortgage skyrockets. It's not a variable rate, it's a fixed rate. And so your mortgage per month is still the same. That's why I tell people it's like we forget about the little details, right? We're so focused on the fear aspect of owning a home that we forget the pros of it. You're outpacing inflation because where's rent going to go per year? Even if it's cap right now, I see people who have lower mortgages than people's rents, right? And so that's kind of just how the game is played is, hey, what's the next question is how can I afford a home? Because that's what's going to benefit people. And that's
Yeah.
where buyers are at right now, where they're saying, okay, I don't mind paying a little bit more right now, but I know it's going to pay me more later on down the line. And that's how real estate is. And that's how real estate is going to always be. California, especially in Southern California, because that's where we're focused, that's where we are. Southern California has such a high appreciation market that, you know, people are wanting to get in the game because they see that.
Yeah, that old adage, it's like it's time in the market, not time in the market, right? You try to time the market,
Yeah.
and look what happened. You get eaten up by these rates. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think you're absolutely right. If you're planning on staying in long term, uh, I would. If I was planning on buying a house and I was planning on staying there long term, I would definitely buy. I would still buy right now. And
Yeah.
I'm not an agent. I'm not affected by anything. But like if I found the right home for me,
Mhm.
in Santa Clarita, I would buy it, for a couple different reasons. When these rates, if they go back down, we have an election next year, and I don't know if
Yeah.
the current president wants to have 7.5% rates with $7
Yeah.
gas, right?
Exactly.
He's gonna fight everything. He's gonna fight everybody to try and bring both those things down.
Yeah.
I think that if you're able to buy a house, you buy it, especially because once the rates go back down to 5, you're going to be fighting all those people that have been waiting to buy houses. Now they're going to get in the market, so that's going to
Mhm.
push the price of homes even higher.
Yeah.
So that's what I would be my suggestion. If you can afford a house, and then if you're single and you still want to buy a house, I think you talk about roommates, for a
Mhm.
year or two, and then refi in a couple of years when the rates go down. I think
Yeah.
that's your best bet. Otherwise, it's going to be hard over the next few years to buy
Yeah.
a house unless you're buying brand new.
Yeah.
And those homes that they're building are like over $1 million homes.
Yeah.
So if you can get in a starter home now, like you have to get into it
Yeah.
because it's going to be impossible to like you're going to be buying a $1.2 million home with Melrose. You know,
And
it's going to be
HOA.
hard. It's going to be hard.
Yeah. And there's that aspect of
Yeah,
it too. I like to encourage people to think of what a starter home should be. They think their starter home should be their perfect home, but smaller size, or
yeah,
just they think of their starter home as their dream home basically, and it's like, hey, no, your starter home
yeah.
is going to take a little bit of sacrifice. It's going to take a little bit of pivoting and adjusting and accepting that, hey, maybe this isn't what I want right now, but I can fix up
Hmm.
the bathroom slowly, the kitchen slowly, uh, everything that I can add value to down the line, right? And that's what I encourage people to see, especially in Southern California market. There's a lot of old homes out there that you can get that you can make beautiful
Yeah,
and get it at a cheaper
yeah.
price. But just like Jose was saying, maybe have roommates if you're younger. If you do have a family, of course, that's a different story, but
You're right.
there's different strategies to pivot and see, okay, well maybe we can start with a condo, right? That's going to be our starter. It's going to be cheaper,
Hmm.
but more affordable for us. People are stuck on sometimes, and I've had this conversation with people where they're like, "Oh, I don't really want a condo because it's a condo." Like, what is the what is
Yeah.
the downside of a condo? Maybe HOA, right? But then if it's like the HOA is within their budget, then they're kind of just stuck on still seeing, hey, I want that dream home. I want that single family home. But then, hey, maybe that condo, if you buy now, in 5 years, you can either sell or make that into an investment and
Hmm.
refinance, take cash out, and put it into a single family home. And it's just long term thinking. Uh, Izzy and I talk about that a lot about
Yeah.
the mindset of we have a society that always wants like now, now, now. We don't think, hey, how can I get that five
Right.
years from now, 6 years from now, to work towards that.
Yeah, you gotta have something to trade with, like you trade up. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you get in the market how you can, and then because the problem is like it's very hard to save a down payment. It's very hard to save 200 grand for a down payment. So
Yeah.
you have to like get into whether it's a condo or a starter home.
Yeah.
So you can take that money and then that equity trade that up to a bigger home if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to. I know a guy. This poor guy. I was telling him to buy a house
Mm-hmm.
4 years ago. He's like, no, Dave Ramsey told me to save 20%, and he waited. Um, and then the market did what it did. The prices didn't go down, and now the rates are 7%. And then he can definitely not afford a home right now, and he has a really good
Yeah.
job. So that's the risk that you run, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like you have to be in the market as long as possible. 3, 4, 5 years, and once you build that equity, then you trade that up the home that you want, or
Yeah.
trade. It might take you two trades. That's what people don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
So you trade again to a single family, and then 3, 4 years again, then you trade that up again to the one you really want.
Yeah.
So when you see like the 50-year-old in like a really nice big house, well, you don't know that they've had two, three houses before that. That's what people don't
Mm-hmm.
realize, right? So it's like they didn't just buy that big house; they really
Yeah.
traded up into that house, and that's what people do. So
Exactly.
something to think about if you're like in your mid 20s, you know, like hitting 30. Something to think about there.
Yeah, I agree. So given what we think about the market, what do you do? What do you plan on doing within the next year, would you say?
Um, yeah. So right now, because I'm primarily a single family home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
I have total, 7 single family homes. The problem with the single family homes is they don't cash flow that well, and especially with these rates, they don't cash flow at all. So that kind of puts me on the sidelines, and I can afford to wait it out. It's not like I depend on the income.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing this year is I've really concentrated on educating myself in the game of real estate. So you know that I'm trying to get into multifamily, and it's even tough. You talk to these multifamily guys, and they'll tell you that
Yeah.
it's very tough to be able to lock down a deal because the rates are so high and so bad. So they all feel, and I think too over the next year or two, the deals are
Mm-hmm.
going to start coming in, and so I'm willing to wait. I've gone to a real estate conference, multifamily. I'm going to Tennessee next week to go to a. I don't know if you've heard of him, is Felipe Mejia. He what he does is he does conversions from a single family, and then he'll
Mm-hmm.
convert the garage or whatever into a duplex and get cash flow. And then I'm directly after that next week I'm going to Seattle for another real estate conference, and that one is on owner financing. So I'm really over the next
Nice.
year is really just trying to educate myself as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
so that when we come out of this, I'm just ready to go.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
I love that.
So I really want to get yeah, and I started. I don't know. Did I tell you that I'm going to get my master's? Um,
No, but I did see you
which I'm
post something
not a
about
college
your
guy.
sister. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a college. I'm really not a college guy. I'm really not. And I talk bad about college all the time. But this master's is from John Hopkins, and it's on real estate and
Mm-hmm.
development. So, I'll be learning from people that are in, REITs and
Mm-hmm.
really big time, big money real estate people. And so I'm just going to go all out on this education thing over the next year or two, so that
Okay.
when we come out of this, whatever we're in, recession or whatever, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready just to go, fire on all
Yeah.
pistons. So, what about you?
I think that's really good advice, and you can learn from what Jose is doing because what it sounds like is, it sounds like actually David Green's new book where he's focusing on the pillars of wealth, and it says how to budget, plan, and save, and it's so I guess you can call basic because we know it is the basics on how
Hmm.
you get started, but it will help you get to where you want to be, and that's kind of where I'm at too. So I have a bigger property that I'm probably gonna plan on selling. It just didn't work out with this partnership, with this home, and so we're planning to sell that and trade it in for a Santa Cruz home. Just because Santa Cruz, I know the pockets of Santa Cruz where I want to build an ADU in the backyard. That's something big that we've spoken about. That's probably going to be something that's going to be really popular in Southern California that's developing. They've already approved the laws. And so I just see the value in that as opposed to the short term rental market. And in my personal opinion, because it's just me, I'm not planning to do a partnership with the Santa Cruz home or anything. This is just for the next 1 year. I have a daughter coming, so it's like I'm just thinking ahead of time for that, preparing for that. And similar to what you're doing, I'm trying to prepare myself. So for when that opportunity comes, it's like I know when that opportunity and when to take it. And so I'm already looking and scavenging like Santa Cruz, but
Yeah.
that I'm always looking, not just for my clients,
Yeah.
but it's like okay, what I see is valuable here. But that's my plan is to buy that and turn it into a house hack and build an ADU in the back so that way I can kind of mix and match strategies on that. Maybe rent out the ADU, rent out the main home, maybe put the ADU on Airbnb, so it's it's kind of like a preparation of I eventually do want to get into the multifamily space. And so we talked about that too. It's like I have a certain timeline where I'm like, okay, I just need to do one step at a time, and eventually I know I'll get there.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really smart strategy. I think if you're waiting or if you're gonna get in the game, I think you have to start getting educated,
Mm-hmm.
whichever. And I'm not spending like, I'm spending a couple grand at a time on these conferences and
Mm-hmm.
these mentorships. I wouldn't go out and spend if you're brand new. I wouldn't go out and drop 20,000, 30,000 on a mentorship because it's going to be hard for you to really use that unless you're really ready to take action. I think what you're doing, you've been in the game for a while, and I think I've been in the game for a while. I know what I want. I
Yeah.
just know that deals are really hard to come by right now,
Yes.
and so I'm really making it a point to educate myself over the next year or so. I've already started, so that
Mhm.
when I see a deal, I know I can move and
Yeah.
make that happen. So, but I think,
Okay.
yeah, you're absolutely right. ADUs are the next big boom in real estate
Mhm.
in Southern or in all of California, I think,
Yeah.
especially Southern California because it's really hard to build here and it's really
Mhm.
hard to to buy a lot will cost you,
Yeah.
however, like $300,000-$400,000 for a lot. So if
Mhm.
you have a lot and you can build on it, I think the price of those homes are going to go way up. So it's just
Yeah.
like I think real estate in SoCal is really tough. So if you can get in, I think you should get in
Yeah.
however you can.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of like Hawaii where they have ohana. They call it ohana units. And that started
hmm
becoming because prices in Hawaii started to become unaffordable for local people. And so they built ADUs, they built sections, units on top of the homes and shared those homes, kind of like house hacking, but with ADUs or with
hmm
like separating the homes into different units, just like how you said, hey, let me turn the garage into another unit, make it into a duplex instead of a single family home. I feel like that's where SoCal will be headed in certain areas, not everywhere. Just because I know, like
yeah,
Santa Cruz is a place where we see that there's a lot of HOA, Melrose. They want to keep up with the community look, but I feel like that's
yeah,
something that's gonna be really really popular soon. ADUs. I mean, there's already talk about ADUs being sold separately as like a different unit than
yeah.
the main home.
I don't know how they're going to do that. Um, I think they were still working it, but that law is, I think, is going into effect beginning of the year, where
Yeah,
you can literally sell your ADU separately from your home, which is
yeah,
wild.
that
I don't know
is.
how they're going to work that out, or if there's going to be an easement that
Yeah.
through your backyard. But however they're going to work that out, that's pretty interesting. So if you have a home with a big lot, I think that is the next move.
Mhm.
Even if you don't, um, plan on selling that, but I mean, you can still bring
Yeah.
in 2-3 grand a month. If you have the money to do that, it's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting play. That's very, for me, in my opinion, that's the next big boom in real estate. You'll see they go in cycles. They went from like
Mhm.
Airbnb arbitrage, and then Joshua Tree happened, Big Bear happened. Then it was single family homes, and then now you see like it's Airbnbs.
Mhm.
So not Airbnbs, I'm sorry, but it's going to be ADUs. Like
ADUs,
that's a
yeah.
nice big boom. It's
Yeah.
coming, especially this next year when this law comes into effect. I think it's going to be. Plus, there's really nothing else to do that you can do right now. So if you
Yeah.
have a couple $100,000 on the sideline, I think that's the
Yeah.
move you make, right?
Mhm.
So
And I'm curious
pretty
to
interesting, especially with just a little housing. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm curious too what type of financing that they'll come out with those ADUs.
Yeah. So I was talking to a loan guy at the last meetup I went to
Mhm.
with Nine Doors Down, and he was saying that you can do a bridge loan. Um, if you have equity in your home, you can do a bridge loan and
Mhm.
then refi out of that afterwards. So I mean, there's you can either do a HELOC, you can do a bridge loan.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different tactics that you can use.
Yeah.
I would just talk to a loan guy
Yeah.
um, and see what your options are, and they'll be able to tell you. Like
Yeah.
always, talk to the loan guy first, see if you get the money, and then go
Yeah.
from there.
I can definitely see a HELOC working just
But
because it's yeah. If it's under 100,000,
yeah, HELOC definitely.
go ahead,
I
sorry.
think no, no. I think talking about the 100,000. I think the garage conversion now is going to cost you from 100 to 125,000 at this
Yeah.
point. If you get a contractor,
Yeah.
right? I think if you try to do it on your own, um, it'll definitely be cheaper, but just be aware of like it's going
Mhm.
to take you a year and a half to do it on your own, just
Yeah.
because of all the permits, and then it's just everything takes way longer than you think.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to get an architect. You have to come out. That's going to take you a couple months, and then you get the permits. That's going to
Mhm.
take you a couple months, and then you get a contractor, and then the first one's going to like take your money.
Yeah.
So but you have to find people you trust. That's why if you find a good contractor, I think you pay up and you make sure that that project gets done if you can do it.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point to make that you need a good contractor, someone who knows what they're doing, but someone who can be very straight up and direct with you on meeting your timeline.
Hmm.
Because I actually have a past client who's turning the garage into an ADU, but he got a hold of horrible contractor. I mean, I'm talking, he bought that home December of 2021. It's almost been 2 years. He started the ADU process maybe
Hmm.
summer, fall of 2022. So it's almost been a year for him. And he's been telling me, hey, this guy's, taking his time. And it took maybe like 4 or 5 months for the permit process. And he wouldn't do certain jobs properly, or it would be so hard to get a hold of him. And it's like, that's not the contractor that you want. You want someone who, where if you
Yeah,
or he says that it's gonna get done next month, it needs to get done next month. And so, if you need, I mean, actually, Jason and ServPro, they have contractors right there. They're in Palmdale, but if you're in Santa Cruz or Palmdale, they
yeah,
can help you out because they're
yeah. I
reliable.
think
They're,
they come down.
yeah,
Yeah, they have their reputation online, and I don't think they can afford to lose
exactly.
that. But yeah, it's very important. Like you have to get a contractor because the contractor will. If you can't pay them all up front because you'll never see them again. And then so
Yeah.
like you have to pay them in increments by when the work is being done. Like you can't just go
Hmm.
and go, okay, I'll pay you half now and then half later. Well, you're never going to see them again. And if you pay them
Exactly.
all up front, and if they're a bad contractor, they're using that money to pay their guys for the last job they did. They're barely keeping
Yeah.
up. So I think any reputable contractor is going to be okay with you paying them as they go, as the whatever stage of the project that they're on. But just be aware that an ADU is going to take a long time, way longer
Yeah,
than you think. You know, just
I
to put
agree.
solar up takes 6 months. You know,
Yeah.
so like to put solar up takes 6 months. You know, with the permit process, so just it's going to take about 6 months to a year at least.
Hmm. So what you're saying is that if you're planning to build an ADU or want to build an ADU, start now. Start planning now. Start getting your
Yeah,
team
start planning
together.
now. Just
Start talking to contractors,
well, first step
architects.
is yeah, first step is go get an architect, right? So an
Hmm.
architect is gonna be able to come and look at your property and tell you exactly what you're gonna need and where you're going to be able to have to run your lines, because a
Yeah.
lot of times the price is it depends on how long they got to run the sewer, and then how long they got to run the water and all that stuff, right? So
Hmm.
when you give that job to a contractor and you get it bidded out and you get it bid out, they're gonna be able to then go off of what the architect's saying, right? And then you're
Yeah.
also gonna use that to go get your permits.
Yep.
So first step is architect. That's gonna cost you a couple grand. Like you
Yeah.
can't just go, oh, it's gonna be a few $100. No, it's gonna cost you 3, 4, 5 grand to get an architect and have them do the work. Probably more than that. And
Yeah.
then, but after that, then you can start getting it bid out, and you can go to the city and turn it to the city and get your permits and go from there. So that's my
Exactly.
advice on that.
There you go. Great advice.
I have not built an ADU yet.
But did your investment in, is it Fresno?
Ridgecrest?
Ridgecrest. Sorry, I got them confused. And Ridgecrest,
Yeah,
have you done
it's
any
okay.
work with us?
I've done work on my own. I've done like roof repairs and
Mm-hmm.
different stuff inside the house, but I have not like taken on a construction job. I've done a lot of research on it because I want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Hold on, let me see. Sorry, I think it's delayed. We can edit this part out, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like lagging and I couldn't.
Oh, was it? I hear it okay.
Yeah. On my end. I don't know what happened. It
Okay,
would be like a pause, but we're good. Good now.
okay,
Okay, okay. I can
cool.
edit this part
Any
out.
other thing you want to talk about before we end this episode 2?
I know, I think that was good. A good topic to hit on just so that way people can see, where the market is, where we predict the market is headed, at least from different point of views, right? From investor who is wanting to long term go into multifamily space, different strategies, learning right now. You can all learn from Jose. Um, and then on my end, what I see, what's actually happening front row with buyers, with people trying to buy
Yeah.
in the market in Santa Cruz. So you can definitely learn from all these things. And I think the next episode, we're probably going to talk about what are we going to talk about?
We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I
We're
think
gonna,
if yeah, I think if you're looking to buy, if you're watching this, you're looking to buy a house. Get get with an agent like Stacey that has a long term outlook on stuff and is not just trying to get you in a house. Because a lot of agents that was literally just trying to make a transaction and not think
yeah,
about it as an investment long term, and that's what you need to find. So definitely find an investor minded realtor like Stacey if you're going to be looking to buy a house for sure, and that's at any time. So
yeah.
that's my advice to all of you.
I appreciate that. I think it's just the main point is think long term here. Don't let the fear of where the market is right now keep you from where you want to be,
Yeah,
where you want to be headed.
yeah. I think when you stretch out your problems and you go 5 years out, I think it makes them a lot easier.
Yeah.
Naval said, play long term games with long term people,
Mhm.
and it'll make your life much better. So
Exactly.
I will also say that with investing,
That's a good way to, and that's a wrap with that Jose's quote.
and that's a wrap. So long term games with long term people.
Exactly. And if you're watching
Cool.
this, thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Stand by for episode 3. All right. Thank
Yeah.
you guys.